Welcome back to the Warehouse Podcast, everyone. My name is Elijah. Today we are here to talk about the sorry state of the Baltimore Orioles. That's my introduction. That's it. It's not good. It's not great. Um, there are a lot of reasons to be wildly frustrated right now. Um, I am not going to get into, uh, everybody. Everybody's talking about ticket prices. I personally like. I, trying to keep this like obviously that is related to the Orioles, the state of affairs, everything is roped up in that. I will say that I think everybody who is paying for season tickets, who is being given the option to now pay more for a lesser product, particularly when the team sucks on the field, that they have every right to be mad. I would be mad. I am a little bit mad for them. That sucks. It is difficult to remain objective about, saying what is correct for the baseball team, and for the business that governs that baseball team, and what is correct for us fans who, you know, really provide the entire basis upon which that business is built. They, this was a decision for the business and not for the consumers. I have likened it to Southwest, like going ahead and getting rid of the open seating and the free check bags and all this stuff. And, they're doing so because fundamentally they can make more money. In the Orioles case, it does seem to be driven by some tax hikes in particular that were driving this, but the end result is the same, us fans. I shouldn't even say me, I don't have season tickets. I've told you I'm in Florida. Um, but, fans are paying more money for a worse product, and that is incredibly frustrating. Um, so shouts out to all the fans who will renew those season ticket packages, will continue to support the team. Um, Not that folks won't continue to support the team, and not that it's an indictment on anybody's fandom if they say I'm not going to renew the season ticket package. But yeah, shouts out to the ones who are doing it, who are sticking with it, and shouts out to the ones who are not. I'm sure they really want to. Um, and, sometimes people just don't have money for a 50% price increase. It's that simple. Like people work really hard such that they can end up in a situation where they can get season tickets to their favorite baseball team. And if you keep pushing the threshold of what you have to pay to gain entry, then you're going to lose people. That is what it is. Um, okay. I feel like that's enough talk about that. I wanted to kind of discuss one aspect of the poor product that is on the field in particular. Um, for those of you here with me on YouTube, again, hi YouTube. Um, I've got an MLB Trade Rumors article up. Mike Elias discusses possible prospect promotions. Not easy to say 5 times fast. It is easy to read 1 time slowly, so I'm going to leave it at that. But this article is particularly discussing Samuel Basallo and Dylan Beavers. Um, you know, th- this current Orioles product, like everything would be made better by Samuel Basallo, but I think Dylan Beavers in particular, you know, the Orioles' current major league outfield is atrocious. I mean, just like horrendously bad. You lost. You traded away Cedric Mullins. Tyler O'Neill banged into the wall. And I can't even give him credit for being made of glass because there are certain kinds, like, there's the tempered glass on your phone screen. There is, I don't know, just like there are pieces of glass that will survive. He's not made of those. He's made of something much, much thinner. Um, and it is difficult, but there is still a world where he comes back next year and is hitting, 35 home runs. Okay, we had to make sure the computer did not die in the middle of recording. 35 home runs, with a 250 average and looks like God, God incarnate on a baseball field. He can be that. Um, I mean, part of what was so frustrating about this most recent wrist injury after banging into the wall is that he was kind of on a tear. You know, he was starting to hit bombs. He was starting to look like the guy we thought we were signing to this big free agent deal. So, anyway, he goes down. You have traded Cedric Mullins. Colton Cowser is out. And so, you know, we go to the deepest depths of the scrap heap, and we find Greg Allen, who was just, uh, you know, pushed off of the Cubs 40-man roster. He was not even at the major league level. Pushed off the 40-man roster. We bring Greg Allen in. We promote Jordan Adams. Um, Dylan Carlson is doing his thing, and Ryan Noda is around, and then Jeremiah Jackson. And I am going to stop right there, and I'm going to say Jeremiah Jackson has no place to play on this Orioles infield right now. Jordan Westberg, Gunnar Henderson, and Jackson Holliday are far too good at baseball. Jeremiah Jackson is legitimately interesting, I think. He was hitting like 375 at Norfolk. It has been painful watching him out there. It would not be so painful if he was the only one. And I think, the Orioles' intention was that he was the only one. And, he could sit there with Cowser and O'Neill, and that would be passable. That would be acceptable, I think. But, when he's flanked by Dylan Carlson, who's like 0 for his last 30 something, and then Greg Allen, who, once again, was dismissed from the AAA roster of the Cubs, you are putting together an outfield package that is just very, very simply not of major league quality. Um, I think that, you know, this is particularly frustrating because the Orioles have some depth in this respect. And I think, Beavers is there, and we'll talk about why he is not up in a minute. Um, but you do have the likes of Judd Fabian. Judd is not the caliber of prospect that Dylan Beavers is. Judd is not somebody who you're going to be worried about the prospect promotion incentive. Again, we'll talk about it more in a minute. Um, Judd is somebody who plays a great defensive center field. That is like really at this point his path to the major leagues because he very, very likely is never going to make enough contact in order to be a sustainable offensive player. So he can hang out, probably play as a fourth outfielder, a good center field. Um, but he is also down, and he did just come off of injury fairly recently, like week and a half ago at this point. Um, has he's been fine. I don't want to say it's good. I don't want to say it's bad. It's just fine. Um, but so, you'd kind of love to see Judd up there, but I think the biggest thing about this Orioles organization, and this is, I truly like, I think it's so infuriating to me. Um, and not to say it's inherently wrong, just that it makes me upset because I see these opportunities for somebody like a Judd Fabian, and I'm like, screw it, like bring him up. And the argument against doing so is that you get to maintain an option. You don't need to add him to the 40-man roster and then probably spend an option sending him back down to the minors once all of these people start getting healthy. O'Neill is going to be healthy. Cowser is going to be healthy. Jorge Mateo is going to come back. The outfield is going to start filling up again pretty quickly. And you would feel like it was a wasted opportunity to, I guess, a wasted option year for Judd Fabian. And that would be a big bummer because he's likely not the type of guy who's going to make it to the bigs and just stick, just going to ball out and be so talented. He probably will be an injury replacement for the next 3 years. And that means he will go up and down, and you're going to use those options. But at the same time, and this was the original point, the Orioles just categorically refuse to allow injuries on the major league roster to dictate how they handle these prospects, or really injuries at any level. They just categorically refuse to let the situation dictate the plan. And I think to me, you know, I'm probably a less organized and less methodical human being than all the people in this front office, but I think that when the opportunity presents itself, that could be an opportunity for somebody, and like if Judd Fabian is able to go see a major league fastball and like really get challenged by something, I want to see what he does by that. And I think that, if he sees 97 up in the zone, he's still going to swing and miss at it. Um, I don't know, but there are opportunities that can bring something out of people. We see Andrew Vaughn over in Milwaukee. He um, was a dump at the deadline because he'd been, I think, the worst player in baseball, if I remember correctly, for the first half of the season. So, he goes over to Milwaukee and now he's like slugging 700 in the couple weeks since Rhys Hoskins got hurt. And it's not like Milwaukee had some grand plan for him either. They kicked him to AAA and then Rhys Hoskins got hurt. And so this opportunity presented itself. He came up, he went with it, and wonderful, wonderful things have happened. I do not want to say that Judd Fabian has like a comparable amount of innate talent to um my God, I was just talking Andrew Vaughn. Jeez. Uh, I don't want to say he has like a comparable amount of talent or even that the same thing would happen, even that he would hit like even that he would get a single hit in the major leagues. I am not entirely comfortable saying that. I think he would, don't get me wrong, but it's just that, like the situation has dictated that you dive into some of this depth that you have, and instead the Orioles have gone ahead and just done like some really, really silly things in order to toss players that they don't care about into this situation so that they can just get rid of them later. Um, and objectively, from a I guess from a roster construction, and like from a more logical standpoint, yes, like if I think that Judd Fabian could be a quadruple A, like on the shuttle to Norfolk guy for the next 3 years, and I think there's a plausible chance that he'll never really break through to the point where we, want to keep him on the 26-man roster all the time. If you think that's the type of guy he is, then the way to maximize that value is sure, you go ahead and you like keep him down in AAA this year, you keep that option year, and then you go forth from there, and you have three to spend in the future. But that said, it's just like it is. I don't even want to say commitment to the bit, but it's like commitment to the method in a way that is so infuriating because they're absolutely and totally willing to let Dylan Carlson go 0 for 30 and Greg Allen go 0 for whatever the heck he's, at. He might have a hit also. I like genuinely have not been paying attention to Greg Allen. I turn away from the TV every time he's up. Um, and then, yeah, I mean, Jeremiah Jackson is like floundering defensively a little bit. He has started to hit the ball a little bit. That's the reason he's in right field right now. Um, and then Jordan Adams, Jordan Adams is like he's a human. Yeah. He, for all intents and purposes, is a very good minor league baseball player. I will say, I know I'm gonna look it up while I say this, but I know that he was hitting something on the order of man, it was I think 187 this year. So yeah, that's I guess I should say he's not even necessarily a good minor league player. He is somebody who is a talented athlete. He was hitting 185 at Norfolk. He hit 200 in 5 at bats at Chesapeake, whatever. So, like there was potential there. He's a good depth piece, can come up and play the outfield in a pinch, which he is doing. But you expect absolutely no upside from him whatsoever. And you're going to battle here with just a black hole in 1/3 of your lineup. Um, it, it is so like demoralizing. And I think as we've seen, the Orioles continue to put up a couple runs like in the first inning and then just go to sleep. I do think that part of that is you get to a portion of the lineup that enables the pitcher to get so unbelievably comfortable. They're like, let me just, like rock back and groove 93 down the middle, and it just doesn't matter. You're going to get three outs, and you're going to get three outs guaranteed every time that lineup cycles back around. We go off in the first inning, we score three runs, put up six hitters, and then seven, eight, nine come up in the second, and all of a sudden the pitcher feels wildly comfortable, and the team's got all game to bounce back. Our bullpen has not been holding it down. It's just a really, really like dismal product right now. And as consumers, we are entitled to say, I don't like this product, and I think the thing that's frustrating is I don't think obviously they're not going to listen to us, but I don't think that it's necessarily correct if they are genuinely trying to do what is best for the team. I don't think it's necessarily correct for them to go ahead and listen to us. Um, Once again, like maintaining Judd Fabian's option year is probably correct, and especially while he's only been off the IL for a month and a half, or I'm sorry, a week and a half. But anyway, the other factors here that are keeping them down uh, are the prospect promotion incentive. And I'm sorry, not for Judd. This is turning attention to Basallo and Dylan Beavers, and the article up in front of me. The big thing I want to say here, right? If a player who is rookie eligible is on your opening day roster and they win Rookie of the Year, you get an extra draft pick after the first round. This the Orioles have good experience with. In 2023, Gunnar won Rookie of the Year. We drafted Griffo Farrell, if I remember correctly. Oh, I actually have it in front of me on this article. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So in 2024, 32nd overall, Griffo Farrell was picked. Um, Now, I just want to stress, like, Griffo Farrell has not had the largest amount of success thus far in his minor league career, but I will also note that, once again, this was the 32nd overall pick. We did just get Vahiva Aloy with that exact same pick, if I'm remembering correctly, and Caden Bodine 31st. There is talent to be had at that stage of the draft, and a lot of talent that is wildly valuable. And if the price to pay for an extra chance at that is 1.5 weeks of, sucking in a season that is already lost, it fundamentally makes sense to just eat it for that week and a half, be miserable, and try to pick it back up afterward. And once again, this is a lost season, so I know I'm playing both sides of this to an extent, but it is simultaneously true that the rational side aligns with what they're doing, and that the fan in me and the fan in I think all of us in Birdland are irritated and frustrated that there is seemingly no commitment to just like playing well and ensuring that we have a competent roster on the field. Um, yeah, kind of sucks. Um, anyway, prospect promotion incentive before I rant again. Um, yeah, so yeah, if you are on the major league roster on opening day, you win Rookie of the Year, you get your team an extra draft pick. That is awesome. And that is how every single team is playing it since this has become a thing. Uh, oh, yeah, MLB Trade Rumors put up this wonderful article. Um, yeah, so in Gunnar Henderson's year, other players who made their debuts in August, September, October. Shea Langoliers, Brett Beatty, Cade Cavalli, Hunter Brown, Yainer Diaz, Ken Waldichuk, Spencer Steer, Oswald Peraza, Tristan Casas, Josh Young, Ezekiel Tovar, Logan O'Hoppe, Francisco Alvarez, Bo Naylor. All big time prospects. In 2023, Mason Wynn, Nolan Schanuel, Noelvi Marte, Parker Meadows, Everson Pereira, Kyle Harrison, Jordan Wicks, Sedan Rafaela, Jason Dominguez, Austin Wells, Ronnie Mauricio, um, Heston Kjerstad is on that list. Junior Caminero, Evan Carter, PCA. Um, and in 2024, we had Jace Young, Dylan Cruz, Rhett Lauder, Kumar Rocker, Jackson Jobe. There are all sorts of names on these lists. that this is how prospects are being handled right now, especially ones with any sort of shot at rookie of the year. This is the way to handle it. I think, yeah, MLB trade rumors. I should give credit to the author. Derek McDonald says it seems that late August is the new late April. In the way that service time manipulation was about keeping people down into late April such that they wouldn't get that full year of service time. Now it is only reasonable to promote them in August, get them a taste, preserve rookie eligibility, and then let them loose in the next season. So this is, standard operating procedure at this point. And the reason that the Orioles are optimistic, I guess I can go for Basallo first. Like, I the scouting report calls him a kaiju on Fangraphs. I don't remember the initial lead-in for that, but just to say, like, this is a specimen. This is a unique like character here. Um, he's walking 13.7% of the time. He's got insane power, 23 home runs in 307 at bats, so a like 45 home run pace over a 600 home run, or I'm sorry, 600 at bat season. Um, he's just tearing the cover off the ball. You see 58% better than league average. And this dude, once again, I'm going to scroll up for those on YouTube. This dude is 20 years old. He is unbelievable. Fangraphs gives him 70 game power, 80 raw power once he's fully developed. It's just a special type of player. And he certainly meets the criteria for this PPI, which is you have to be on the top 100 list for two of three major publications. Those publications are MLB Pipeline, Baseball America, and ESPN. In this case, Basallo is, top 10, 15 on all of those lists. It is really no question for him. Now, the thing that has been a bit interesting is Dylan Beavers. Now, I want to stress Dylan Beavers is 24 years old. He is an older prospect. He has flirted with these lists. He has never had much run on them, but the Orioles are seemingly under the impression that he could jump onto these lists because they are holding him down in the same way. And the reason that is, remember, I told you Basallo is currently 58% better than league average by WRC plus. Well, Dylan Beavers is at a 155 WRC plus right now. He's 3% worse than Basallo is as a hitter. He's striking out less. He is walking more. He's hitting 305, slugging 526. Like the guy is hitting the cover off the ball. And despite the fact that he is, 4 years older than Basallo and as such should be performing better, that speaks to Basallo. That does not say anything about Beavers, but um, it's a situation where this guy really has played incredibly well, and it's starting to kind of bear fruit. We've been arguing about what to do about this outfield and whether Dylan Beavers should be up for a little while, but Baseball America came out with their updated list, and Dylan Beavers is 83, I think. So he did jump onto this list on the back of this incredible performance at AAA. Again, he is worth a player and a half right now, like literally 50% better than the average player. So you look at this, and I will say MLB Pipeline also updated their stuff. And Pipeline did not have him on it, but to be very, very clear, everyone in the industry agrees it is a near unanimous consensus that MLB Pipeline is the worst of all prospect evaluators. Um, and to be very clear, I don't like fault them necessarily, but they simply like are not as hmm, they're not as malleable. That they like do not adjust to the situation as rapidly. They do not post lists as often, and they do not necessarily keep up. They just tend to miss players In fact, the Orioles' only player here was Samuel Basallo on the MLB pipeline list. That is really just frankly not an indictment of the Orioles system. That is an indictment of them. The Orioles have so much talented pitching right now. Um, Beavers truly like there are not many players who are hitting 50% better than league average in AAA. It is an indictment on them. I am frankly like kind of shocked. Even somebody like an Ike Irish, even if he does end up in the outfield, the dude hits the crap out of the ball in a super, super special way. Um, Despite the character flaws, he's a top 100 prospect. Pretty much unequivocally, everyone else agrees. Anyway, so Dylan Beavers did not make MLB Pipeline's most recent list. But that said, he has an opportunity to. They update these things every offseason. And then the other one will be ESPN, who has not put out an updated list recently. But, I think the fact that Dylan Beavers has gotten onto Baseball America's list means that this is a worthwhile endeavor for the Orioles to hold him down again for like a week and a half. We started really, really hurting in early August, and you need less than 45 days on the big league roster. So he needs to make it to like August 16th, sometime in the next month, or I'm sorry, sometime in the next week, to avoid, losing his rookie eligibility just based on time on the roster. So this is really like, it's very simple when you think about it rationally. Um, and once again, like Dylan Beavers did jump onto one list. He is performing incredibly well. It's only gotten better and better throughout the season. And this is probably correct. There is a world where Dylan Beavers comes up, plays right field for the Baltimore Orioles, and or left field, maybe left field. Um, we got to put O'Neill somewhere. uh, you know, Plays left field for the Baltimore Orioles all year and ends up hitting like 15 home runs and batting 270 and has a solid rookie season, walking, 9-10% of the time. And that's good enough to win rookie of the year because sometimes there are like relatively down years. There's also a chance he pops off for 25 home runs like Colton Cowser did. It's certainly within the realm of possibility. Um, and the Orioles are, maximizing the chances they have at this thing. They're maximizing. Um, I guess like yeah, like if we look back at the end of next year and Dylan Beavers was, on that pace that I said, and he's like probably somewhere in the top five for rookie of the year voting because he played all year and he was a solid performer. And he's not eligible for this PPI because, oh man, Tyler O'Neill got hurt and we needed to call someone up a week and a half before. I mean, we'd all be losing our minds. We would have said that's horrible, horrible mismanagement. You should have eaten it. And so, like, it is correct for the Orioles to shoot for this, for the Orioles to be a bit bullish on his graduation onto these lists, basically. Um, and the Orioles are doing that, and that's fine. Uh, yeah, probably correct for him. As to like what you do about the MLB product, the question then becomes, well, yeah, you could do Judd Fabian like we talked about, but that's pretty much it. You like very, very quickly run out of options. The other guys on the Norfolk roster are like not options here. I will go to the outfielders. So Dylan and Judd, there's Hudson Haskin. Hudson Haskin has been injured in perpetuity. And oh, look, he is injured right now. Heston Kjerstad, also injured right now. And well, after that, you have Reed Trimble, but Reed Trimble is the third healthy outfielder on the roster right now. So you only have these three guys. I'm sure they're running some like Terran Vavra. I'm sure he's getting some time out there. I actually haven't been keeping up on what exactly they're doing right now. Um, but yeah, they're down bad a little bit. We have already taken Jordan Adams from them. Dylan Carlson came up earlier in the year. Like we have no depth to take from here. And Greg Allen was a move out of necessity. And, similarly, we just brought back Daniel Johnson, which I thought was pretty hilarious. Our, our friend from last year, he came up and got into a single game with the O's, if I remember correctly. Um, so, we got Daniel Johnson back, and he's surely going to go play a couple games at Norfolk. Um, and that's pretty much it. We're in a rough spot here. This is like the reason Greg Allen was available is because somebody had to get booted off of these rosters from buying clubs. I think he was probably the best option available from what was actually, like something obtainable. Um, and yeah, I mean, we didn't know that O'Neal and Cowser were going to get hurt at the same time. We didn't know that we were going to be in this dire situation. Um, I'm sure we thought we could just ride out the year, but that's not how it worked. And now we're scrambling. And once again, like the Orioles refuse to allow a scramble to dictate how they handle the people that they value and to dictate like what is kind of the correct response. The correct response is not like context dependent for Mike Elias. That just is what it is. The correct action for Judd Fabian, for Dylan Beavers, and for Samuel Basallo in the context of, the team is not dependent on the state of the 26-man roster. It's just not. And that is how they work. And man, it sucks for us. I like once again, we have been bad, and it's difficult to watch. You can go to sleep for 1/3 of every game, um, and you can feel very, very confident that in that third, and by that I mean the third of the lineup, and probably the third of balls that are making it like batted balls that are making it into the outfield. You can rest assured that you probably don't want to watch it, um, and that hurts. That sucks. Orioles are bad. The Orioles are very bad. I think we are coasting to the number one pick because every team worse than us is ineligible for it. Um, and yeah, that just is where that is where we are. It is what it is, and we got to suck it up. But rest assured, we're going to keep coming to you with the Warehouse Podcast. We will keep venting, ranting, and after getting the rant out of the way, trying to then reel it back in, look at the rational side of life, um, put away the fandom a little bit, and put the brain on the table, whatever brain is left, um, after this madhouse of a season. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I've got for you guys tonight. I'm gonna leave it there. I guess we might see Daniel Johnson in an Orioles uniform. That would be pretty amusing. I think he's probably better than Jordan Adams. I think he's still not a major league player, but we'll be happy to see him. Seems like a good guy. Always enjoyed him last year. Um, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, that's the content. Uh, our standard outro, of course. If you could like the show, subscribe to the show, comment on the show, say something nice. Reach out to us on Blue Sky, thewarehousepod.bsky.social. You can email us, thewarehousepod@gmail.com. You can, yeah, I mean, we try to respond to all comments on videos and podcasts. So if you do feel like chiming in there, absolutely feel free. And if, I don't know, if we don't get to you, then comment again and yell at us for not getting back to you and say Eli's a liar. And if you want to do that, I'll have to eat that. That's fair. Um, I think that's all I've got for you, though. This has been a mildly depressing episode of the Warehouse Podcast. My name's Elijah. Go O's.